Hi, it's Dwyer. It's October 28th, 2025. GamblersAdvisory.com, a free site. BettingAngle.us, a free site. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, folks, who got chopped up this last week in the National Football League. Let me just say, I was a little astonished that in a high profile game where Aaron Rodgers was going up against his old team, but the game was in Pittsburgh, where the Steelers came out and had a decent opening. Right, I'm surprised that the Steeler defense, of all units on the Steelers, didn't seem able to stop Jordan Love at all in the second half. That surprised me. Steelers were the underdog, but I fully expected them to cover. That game really surprised me. Let me also say, too, that just in reference to other games, that Jet Bengal game showed a couple of things, right? I give the Jets credit for hanging in there. I give Aaron Glenn credit for keeping his team motivated all the way through that game, right? It's a blown opportunity for the Bengals because the Steelers, how do you put it? This was a time to beat a team that was reeling, right? The Jet offense had been putrid. Somehow the Jets put up 39 points against the Bengals in Cincinnati, right? Joe Flacco, let's keep an eye on him. He put up a lot of points against the Steelers. He follows it up here with 38 points, right? He's one of the big stories of the year. The open question here is whether anybody wants to win the AFC North, right? The Steelers just gave away 2 games at home. Understand the stars were aligned here, right? They lost both of them. One to the Bengals, where they're favored. The other to Jordan Love and company. You really have to wonder what's going on when Jordan Love completes as many passes in a row as he did against the Steelers secondary. Let's talk about this week. There are 2 plays I'm interested in. Let me add a third grievance for this last week. I had the Bears. They're playing they're playing the Ravens. All I could say is, I heard Lamar Jackson wasn't playing and I thought, great, here it is. Right? The Bears, who actually have a better record than you think, could firmly put themselves in contention. Right then, of course, I see the Bears struggling on offense, right, against this Raven defense that's been awful this year. Don't just focus on the Ravens without Lamar offensively. Focus on the defense. They've been awful this year. And somehow the Bear offense couldn't get the car out the driveway. Then I'm seeing the backup quarterback, right? I believe he's the 3rd string quarterback for the Ravens. He's out there and he's moving the ball almost at will, right? The Bears should be embarrassed. I'm one of those who really wonders if it's ever going to work between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, right? The Bears had a golden opportunity here. They were certainly catching the Ravens at the right time. Right, no Lamar, reeling defense. Bears on a run, and they drop the ball. Let's talk about this week. There are 2 plays I like early. Right, folks, Miami looked great last week. I'm not saying that the coach is not on the hot seat. I'm not saying there isn't dissension and that the quarterback, Tua, didn't say things that seem to question leadership. I'm not saying any of that, but what I am saying is that in Atlanta, and someone has to tell me what's going on with Kirk Cousins, right? He was awful in Atlanta in a game that Atlanta could have used to place themselves in position, right? The Dolphins come in, put up 34 points, win the game by 24 points. Atlanta looked terrible. Well, the Dolphins, the offense is clicking right now. You saw Waddle showing the speed, right? You saw Tua looking authoritative. Now you're telling me that this Dolphin team, which looked this way on the road, is coming home, right? A lot of teams, particularly cold weather teams, really can't handle Florida this time of year, right, folks? We're right around the end of the end of October, right? Florida is hot, Florida is humid, and the home team here is getting 8 points against the Ravens. Folks, I don't care if Lamar comes back. I don't care if Lamar puts up points. The Dolphins are a high volatility offense. When they're clicking against a subpar defense, and I know the Ravens have guys returning, but let's just say they haven't established a rhythm defensively. I think the 8 points are too much. I like the Dolphins getting 8 at home after a performance where they put up 34 points. Right? Even if Lamar comes back, isn't he going to be a little bit rusty? 8 points is a lot to cover for a road team, particularly one as far under 500 as the Ravens are. Let's go further. The 49ers are operating on fumes in terms of their offense, in my opinion. Right? Mac Jones has been the quarterback for most of the year. Now they're facing a Giant team that just lost their running back Scatterboo. Right, folks? He was an important part of that offense. He's no longer there. Now, I got this at an under 49 points. I see the line has dropped to 48.5. Even that's too high. Right? Both of these teams offensively are too banged up. The 49er defense is better than you think, even with Nick Bosa out, Fred Warner out, right? They're still functional. They still have a defensive culture. They're going up against a rookie quarterback, not even a second-year guy, a rookie quarterback, right? The Giant defense, let's remember, and I know Bo Nix looked magnificent against a subpar defense this last weekend. But let's remember the weekend before this. Through 3 quarters, the Denver offense had no points against this Giant defense. Right? The defense is flooded with young guys, and folks, they're starting to play. When you get an over-under line in the high 40s, normally there's at least one marquee offense on the field. Here there isn't. Now, if the Niners decide to give the ball a lot to Christian McCaffrey, which they've been doing, that's going to run the clock. I like the under 48.5 now. I like the under 48.5 in the 49ers on the road visiting the Giants game. Let's talk about the World Series. First, let me say, I had Seattle in the ALCS. They were looking at their first World Series. Then they went out and lost 4 of the last 5 games. Right? Folks, the reason I'm mentioning that here, right? That's a bet I'll remember for a while. The reason I'm mentioning that here is that that's the personality of the Blue Jays, right? It's true. It's true that the team that wins Game 3 of a World Series goes on to win 70% of the World Series, right? That's true. The Dodgers, of course, heavily favored, right? Let's just say the Blue Jays haven't shown any ability to hit the Dodger ace, right? That starting pitcher, and he has at least one more start, right? All of that's true. But let me tell you what's also true. You just saw that grueling game, right? It's really 2 games that they just played. And only in baseball would you have a guy who played in that game then take the hill to be the pitcher for the Dodgers. Right? Has anyone figured this out? Shohei Ohtani is going to be starting for the Dodgers after playing a, what was it, 18-inning game or so? Folks, the line has seduced me. You're going to offer me a plus 166 on a money line, right? When $1.66 in profit for a $1 bet on a team that, personality-wise, right, was able to come back from 0-2 in an American League Championship Series where the first 2 games were played in Toronto. You know, let's just say, too, I've watched baseball a long time. I've never seen a situation, never ever, where some dude who has just played, an extra inning game is going to take the hill to pitch the next day. Dave Roberts is a manager who will pull guys early, right? I'm guessing Ohtani will be lucky to see the 6th inning. I'm guessing Ohtani is going to be pulled relatively early. If you're going to get at the Dodgers, you need to target their relievers, right? I believe Toronto, excellent hitting club, right? And I'll agree there are concerns about Springer, but even without him, they're an excellent hitting club, right? I think Toronto is going to be able to get Ohtani off the hill. Roberts has to think about Ohtani as a hitter for the rest of the series, right? He doesn't treat Ohtani like he treats the ace of the staff. So I'll be the casino's Huckleberry here, right? I see a team with as much moxie as the Toronto Blue Jays. I think the plus 166, which gives Toronto less than a 40% chance of winning this game, is too much, right? Odds play, I'm taking the Blue Jays in Game 4 of the World Series at a plus 166. Those are my betting thoughts on this October 28th. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Let me close with some commentary. Folks, this ridiculous buyout of Brian Kelly, after the ridiculous buyout of Franklin by Penn State, folks, that's unsustainable. Right? Colleges can't afford these $40 million plus payouts to coaches. Let me also say, too, I understand we have high expectations in sports. I understand certain things are, what have you done for me lately? But what did either Franklin or Kelly do to be shown the door? Right? Both of these guys have had recent success. To me, it's absurd when someone who has had recent success is being shown the door and you're paying more than $40 million to show him the door. Right, folks? That's ridiculous. How can these schools, and I understand these programs, Penn State, LSU, they're cash cow programs. I understand these programs are taking in a lot of money. But couldn't that money have been better spent with these guys remaining as head coach? Again, they've been winners in the past. Right? These guys, Penn State not too long ago was an elite college program under Franklin. Right? So I don't understand what's going on in college football. Right? I heard that Kelly was in trouble. I thought, you got to be kidding me. What was he at one of these poker games with Chauncey Billups? I mean, I was wondering what would cause them to push him to the exit. And apparently LSU can't handle their current record. Apparently LSU is willing to pay well north of $40 million to shove this guy out the door. You've got to be kidding me. The amount of athletes that Kelly has gotten to LSU, at a minimum, the guy's a great recruiter. And you're going to show him the door? I'm stunned. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.